Hello, and you are back in the Velvet Room with Jokerthefool. This is our 27th episode, and today we'll be discussing libertarianism winning in Argentina and the military getting desperate for meat to grind. So we're going to go right into it with our first topic, and that is Javier Milei, I believe that's how you say it, is the president-elect of Argentina. He ran on a very extreme libertarian platform, mentioned being an ANCAP, quotes Rothbard is an Austrian economist. So this is a huge win for libertarianism, and now I'm very cautiously optimistic about Argentina being a more libertarian state and it being a haven for basically the ANCAP mindset. An ANCAPistan, if you will, could be made out of Argentina. Now, if that happens, that remains to be seen. And if it does happen, will Argentina be an ANCAPistan for the next 5 to 10 years, or will it be the next 50 to 100 years, or will the CIA take out Milei before he can even do any of this? That's the big question there. There's of course all these political things that come in mind. Is he going to play politics? Is he going to capitulate when he gets into office in December next month? That remains to be seen, but I do think this is a great positive in terms of the culture, and we've talked about this a lot. Doc and I on Hump Day Potpourri with Elon Musk acquiring X, not necessarily it changing Twitter or X all that much. It's just the fact that Elon Musk acquired Twitter, made it X. That's going to have a cultural impact in the same way a libertarian this extreme, and who's this extreme into individualism, this much of a libertarian, getting into the presidency is going to have more of an effect on the culture for the the global connected culture, because we've got the internet these days. People are more connected on a global scale than we ever were before, so there is a sort of a global culture. Anyway, the fact that Milei won on the libertarian platform and was able to get elected is going to push these ideas more and more into the forefront of people's minds, and that's going to have a cultural effect regardless of whether or not Milei actually sticks to what he says he's going to do, or is able to even do anything if he doesn't get cooed right away, or like I said, the CIA doesn't take him out, because I do think that's a stark possibility that if he starts going a bit of the wrong way, he's going to get taken out by people that don't like him, whether that be internal actors who want a very much a status system, when he starts just abolishing all of these unnecessary departments and ministries and actually starts draining the swamp in a very extreme way. Then of course the statists in Argentina are probably going to try and run a coup against him, and will he be able to survive that? Who knows? And then of course there's the CIA and all these other people in the American empire, the intelligence community. If he steps on their toes too much, and it's like, okay, well, it's time to take him out and install someone else. The CIA has a stark history of doing this since their founding, and I don't think they would stop to do this anytime soon, which I do think is why Milei is so supportive of Israel and saying he's down with the foreign policy of the U.S. to an extent, and also pushing dollarization of the Argentinian economy. But I think, with dollarization of the Argentinian economy, that's more or less to get rid of central banking. That's a step in it. I hope so. So we'll see how this all plays out. He gets into office next month. That's when he's really going to do things, when he's no longer the president-elect and just the president. That happens next month. So there's this lame duck period where you'll see a bunch of headlines about Milei and people speculating about him and all these sorts of things, and the positive and the negative from all sides. So it's really just a wait and see. But this is a good win for libertarians. This is a good step in towards an ANCAPistan becoming a thing, whether it actually happens in Argentina, whether it happens in New Hampshire, whether it happens anywhere else in the world. It pushes more people into thinking that libertarianism is acceptable and culturally a more popular thing, and that's going to, like I said, that happening is going to trickle down into more people joining with libertarians, identifying with being libertarians or ANCAPs or volunteerists, whatever you decide to call it. As more people find that to be acceptable, they're going to identify with that, they're going to act accordingly, and the culture is going to change. And the election of Milei is pushing that snowball a bit further down the hill, regardless of what he does. That's me restating the same thing, but that's where you want to keep your eye on the prize. These ideas are more ingrained in the culture because Milei got this victory. And it's not necessarily, well, is Milei going to actually do what he's going to say, or is he going to become just like any other politician? I'd say it's a bit up in the air, but I'm cautiously optimistic. And who knows, maybe Argentina will be a good place to make your escape to when the U.S. finally goes full communist, which at this point I think is a stark possibility. But we're going to move on to the next topic. Speaking about America going full communist, we're going to speak about the American military is desperate for meat to grind. They're running out of soldiers to send into the forever wars. We've got the one in Ukraine that's kind of petering out a bit. So, because of Hamas, they kind of ended that. Now we're on the Israel-Hamas war. More forever wars in the Middle East are going to be started because of that, most likely. And of course, if you're an empire and you want to keep building your empire, you need to have soldiers in order to do the empire building across seas, and that's where these soldiers come in. And these soldiers really aren't signing up for our volunteer force the way they used to be doing, because we've completely destroyed any sense of patriotism in this country. So that's one of the biggest reasons why the recruiting numbers are down. And also, another reason being is that we have a very fundamentally unhealthy population, physically and mentally. Most, I would say, American men 18 to 25, I'm at the tail end of that age group, are completely unfit for military service. So there is that as well. And the state knowing this, the five branches of the military knowing this, are like, okay, we'll roll back the COVID vaccine requirements. And if you were dishonorably discharged because you were like, well, I don't feel like getting poisoned for my country, so I'm going to refuse the clot shot, the jab, that vaccine that's totally safe and effective. So safe, you need booster doses, so effective. So safe, it's barred, the manufacturers are barred from liability, and so effective, you need booster doses. Sorry, got a little bit mixed up there. Don't want to take that, not doing that, so you got dishonorably discharged. Now the military is coming back to you and saying, hey, you can join back up, because we need the men to send to, we need the meat to grind, we need more soldiers to fight our forever wars. So that's the thing. And of course, you've got the recruiters saying, hey, you don't need to have a vaccine in order to join up. Like they've gotten rid of that vaccine requirement because they're desperate. They need to pad the numbers. They need to make sure they have soldiers that they can send to these forever wars. They need meat to grind if they want to keep running the American empire's war machine to the degree that they want to keep doing it, to keep Northrop Grumman's and Lockheed Martin and all the other private military weapon manufacturing companies, their contracts going to that degree. The military-industrial complex is a huge part of the public sector's spending, and they want to keep that going. And in order to keep that going, in order to justify that, you need to have the men to run it, to run the nuclear submarines and the aircraft carriers and all the helicopters and the 100 military bases and all these sorts of things. You need to have people who are part of the five branches of the military, the grunts, the meat to grind. That needs to be a thing. And like I said, people are checking out, and all across is completely new recruits coming from families of veterans is down. So all across the board, the recruiting numbers are down. So the military is going to do anything they can. This includes rolling back the COVID-19 vaccine requirements, not only for people who are entirely new, but people who were dishonorably discharged, saying, hey, you can come back. That's a stark thing. I did see a letter on X basically stating that, so that's more and more of a thing. And you're going to see the U.S. military get more and more desperate, basically going to do everything they possibly can until they either A, have to run a draft to keep running the American empire's war machine, or just giving up on it and saying, hey, we're going to end these war campaigns and be more of a isolationist country. I hope that happens. I hope they don't institute a draft and try and go really lean into it being a wartime effort. But who knows with this current administration and all the war hawks that are surrounding Biden and that administration, I'm very skeptical of them making any meaningful moves towards peace, which is unfortunate, but that's just how it is. There's way too much money and political influence in the direction of just sending anyone you can to war than it is to be peaceful, because war is very economically profitable, and so much of our economy, especially in the public sector, like I just said, is based off of these contracts for weapons manufacturing, and that's going to keep on being the case for the foreseeable future, and that's just going to encourage them to amp up their recruiting efforts, and when that inevitably fails, because you see it's already failing, they're most likely going to institute a draft or do something even more extreme. But who knows? I'll leave it there. Some interesting thoughts for this Tuesday podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will go to the outro now. Thank you for being in the Velvet Room with Joker the Fool. Be sure to follow my Substack, velvetroompublishing.substack.com, to read Machine to Man and all my other projects.